Hi all, this is Sander. I thought I'd hop on and tell you some saint stories on this cold, dreary Florida day. So let's start with Saint Charbel, shall we? Oh, by the way, the reason I'm doing this is I noticed my saints video didn't get very many views. And the Holy Spirit told me not many people would be interested in saints or praying to saints. But I thought I'd tell you some stories just to maybe whet your appetite. Anyways, so first there's Saint Charbel. Saint Charbel was born in Lebanon. He's a Maronite. He was a Maronite monk, Maronite Catholic monk. And he was a very holy man. He was a hermit. He was a man of prayer. And so there have been, well, here we go. As of July 2024, Saint Charbel has more than 33,000 documented miracles. And his miracles aren't just for Catholics. People from all over the world of different faiths and no faith come to the monastery or the shrine, whatever they have. They have a shrine, I guess, set up in his name with all his artifacts, relics. And people come to the shrine of Catholic faith and different faiths and no faith, and they all get healed, or most of them get healed. So, there are people online who sell, Saint Charbel relics. There are people who get dirt from around his grave and say that it has an effect. I have actually drank Saint Charbel oil and had some healing in my body. So he's awesome. He's awesome for physical problems, health problems, but he's also good for other problems. There was a family that was going up to like a family wedding in Massachusetts or something, and they were in their car with all their luggage inside, and they got into a car accident, not a bad one, but they got into a car accident where their car spun, and they automatically called out to Saint Charbel, and nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. They were fine. And they went on their way to the wedding. So he's awesome for anything to pray to. So next we'll go to Padre Pio. Lots of people know Padre Pio. He's called Saint Pio of Pietrelcina. He died in the 1960s. He was awesome. He was just totally awesome man of God and a priest in Italy. And which story should I start with? I'll start with the guy in World War II. During World War II, Padre Pio was still alive, and people knew about him. Apparently, he had a lot of miracles, and people knew about him, and there were Catholics in the United States who were devoted to him, who prayed to him. So during World War II, there's this mother in Kansas, and her son is fighting in World War II. He's a pilot in France, over France. And one night, she wakes up in the middle of the night out of dead sleep, and cold out of her sleep, and she gets this feeling that something's wrong with her son, that her son is in danger. So she goes to her little, what do you call them, dresser drawer. My grandmother used to keep her saints on top of her dresser drawer. And she goes to the top of her dresser drawer and gets her I guess, her Padre Pio card, and she starts praying, and she says, Padre Pio, my son, I feel that my son is in danger. Would you please help my son? And at the same time that she was praying this, her son was in an airplane over France fighting the Nazis. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, Padre Pio appears in the sky, in front of this guy. And he says to him, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. So this guy, he had to ditch his plane. He had to eject from his plane, pull his cord, and parachute to the ground. And when he parachuted to the ground, he landed right in front of a barn on a French farm. He landed literally right in front of the barn with no injuries. He said he felt like there was a hand guiding him in, like there was a hand underneath him guiding him gently in. So he hides in the barn, and of course the family helps him escape to safety. So that's one story. Then there was the man with the head injury. There was this man in Italy, businessman, successful, was in a car accident, and it must have been pretty bad because he had several injuries, including to his head. And all his other injuries, he spent time in the hospital, all his other injuries were healed, but not his head. Something in the car accident messed up the bones in his head, and he was in constant pain. So one of his friends said, why don't we go see Padre Pio? Maybe he can pray for you. So they go to see Padre Pio, and I think Padre Pio was in a wheelchair by this point, or they used to wheel him around in his latter days, older days. So Padre Pio finished his mass, and what people would do was there was a hallway going out of the church down the side. There was like a ramp going down, and they would wheel Padre Pio out of the church sanctuary down this ramp towards his living quarters. And people would stand there to one side of the ramp. They would stand there if they needed prayer or healing from him. They would stand there and wait. So this man went with his friend, and they waited. I think possibly the man was in a wheelchair too. They waited for Padre Pio to come, and down he comes after the mass, wheeled down the aisle, and and as he's passing this man, he goes by other people, but he stops at this man, and he looks at him. Didn't talk to him, but he knew what the problem was, and he goes, knock, knock, knock on the man's head, and the man was healed. Okay, so that's a good Padre Pio story. Let's see, now on to St. Joseph. St. Joseph, there is the miracle of the miraculous staircase created by St. Joseph in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now, there were these nuns, the Sisters of Loreto in Santa Fe, and they had a girls' school, a girls' academy, and they had to build a chapel for the girls' school, because you have to go to chapel, right? So they had a nice little Gothic chapel church built for their school. And when it was done, they realized that there was no stairway up to the choir loft. How are people going to get up to the choir loft? That was a problem. So it was 20 feet up. And so I don't know if they got some estimates from some workers. I'm not sure what they did. Oh, they did get some people to come in, some workmen who could build them a stairway to the choir loft. And they said it was too narrow. They said, it's too narrow, we can't do it. So the sisters did what sisters do. They prayed. They prayed a novena to St. Joseph. And on the last day of the novena, this man shows up. He's riding a donkey, and he's got wood and tools with him. And he says, I'm here to build your choir loft, or your stairway. And so they say, okay, fine, go to work. Here it is. Here's the space. And so he built them a spiral staircase to the choir loft. But here's the thing. He didn't have any modern tools. He had just basic manual tools with him. There was no central pole going up the middle to hold the stairs in place. He used no glue, no nails, and no other modern hardware to get it done. Just his basic tools. He had wood with him. It was spruce, but they found out later it was not native to New Mexico, and they could not find any spruce in the world that matched that spruce. And there were 33 stairs going up to the choir loft, which matches the 33 years that Christ lived. So when he was done, he left. He didn't ask for payment, and he didn't tell them who he was. So one of the first things they did was they went to a wood dealer close by, and they said, was there a man meeting this description who came and bought wood from you? And they showed him a piece of the wood. There was apparently a piece of the wood left. And he said, no. He said, we don't sell this wood. And he said, there's no kind of wood like this in New Mexico. So, okay, there's that. So they came to the conclusion that the man who came and built their staircase was in fact St. Joseph, who manifested in the flesh and came and built their staircase with no glue, no nails, no modern hardware, and no pole. And you can walk up and down the staircase. They have it closed now. But the sisters would walk up and down it on their knees because they were afraid. But it's a sound staircase. They've had engineers come and look at it, and they are baffled. They're like, how did he do this? They said there's just no math in the world that can do this. And there's no human way possible that you can do this, that you can build a sound staircase with no glue, no nails, and no pole, and using just basic rudimentary tools. So there you go, the miracle of St. Joseph and the Loretto staircase. And lastly, there is a miracle that was done with the miraculous medal, this one. And it was in the 1940s, somewhere in the United States, maybe Pennsylvania, can't remember. There was a little boy, like 8 years old, who went out sledding one afternoon and had a bad accident and he passed out and basically went comatose. And so they put him in the local Catholic hospital, and they called 2 priests from the diocese to come and see him because they figured he was going to die soon. So these two young priests, takes youth, doesn't it? These 2 young priests came, and they had a miraculous medal with them, and they had their prayer books and probably their holy oil, anointing oil. So they came with all their stuff, and they sat with him, and they, prayed some prayers, probably anointed him with oil. And then they had the miraculous medal, and the normal thing is to put a blue ribbon on it. That's the way the Virgin Mary told the sister to do it. So they had their blue ribbon and their medal, and they put it on him. And they just sat with him and probably prayed. And the mother was called. I don't know where the parents were. I don't know why the parents weren't there. Maybe the hospital was far away. I don't know what the deal was. But the parents weren't there, and they sat with the little boy all night, all day, all night. And eventually he woke up. And he said, "I want some ice cream. Can I have some ice cream?" And they didn't know whether, they didn't know what was going on with his head, whether he was, he woke up from the coma, but they didn't know if he was brain damaged or, if there were still bones in his skull that were broken. They didn't know. So they went and took him for an x-ray. The doctor ordered an x-ray, and they called the mother, and they said, "He's awake." So the mother came to see him, and they brought him back from the x-ray, and the doctor looked and said, "He's fine. He's perfect. Totally healed. Nothing wrong." So the doctor said, "Give him some ice cream and send him home." This little kid who was on death's door, who the nurses and the doctors expected him to die any moment, because he didn't wake up from his accident. So they figured the worst. All they had to do was put the miraculous medal on him and have a couple of priests pray for him, and that was it. He was healed. So I thought you'd like those stories. I wish I had more for you. I don't know if I told you about my uncle. My uncle was on oxygen, and he was on it for at least 2 years. And my aunt prayed to a certain saint. She did a novena, and he was healed. He went back to the doctor. Doctor checked him out, said, "You don't need the oxygen anymore. He's off oxygen." So that's a miracle right there. I wish I had more. Anyways, if you want more stories on Miracles of the Saints, go to miraclesofthesaints.com. That's a website full of stories on different miracles performed by Catholic saints. So, thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for coming to my video and listening to my stories. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.